What's going on, guys? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking out the channel. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody had a good weekend. A little victory, double weekend, heat. We talked about that. But the Cats. Get what you asked for, Toronto. Reap what you sowed, dude. You want Florida? You got Florida. And you weren't going to lose tonight, because it was Udonis Haslem bangs the drum night. All right, the OG, the captain, having the cat suite, bringing everybody in. We had Gabe Vincent in the Panthers jersey yesterday in the locker room, although Bam was skeptical of his Panthers fandom.
I'm with the Panthers, man. Full all the way.
Thought that Gabe Vincent was hopping on the bandwagon. Either way, Gabe Vincent and his handsome face bringing that to the arena, and the Cats get it done in OT. So we're going to have ourselves a Sans Pants party with a lot of Leroy coming up on Monday to celebrate. That is how you want to get the week started off, right? And then we'll swing it right into a Game 4 night as the Miami Heat have a chance to really put a death grip on this series and go up 3-1 against the New York Knicks, which I have very high confidence that they're going to be able to do that. Playoffs are so interesting, man. We just saw this. We saw this today with some of the action around the league. You think about what Phoenix has been able to do after they just got absolutely drubbed in the early goings of their series against Denver, and then they get monster performances from their two stars, and they're right back in this thing. Even their owners out there flopping, trying to get things going for them. Philadelphia, you're getting tough performances. James Harden gives you that big game one, then all of a sudden he looks like playoff James Harden, which is basically the opposite of playoff Jimmy Butler. And they have a huge win today. He's big for them. PJ Tucker's going out there. He's yelling at Joel Embiid. And so you got a bunch of series now. You got a couple of series now, 2-2. The Heat really have an opportunity here where they can not only put a death grip on this series, but see if they can get themselves a little leg up on the rest, which I think is going to be an interesting thing going into this this Knicks game, because you do have a lot of Heat guys dealing with stuff. I know the Knicks have guys dealing with stuff too, but I am curious, how does Jimmy? One of the things that really benefited Miami the last time around is they had this monster break, right? And Jimmy was able to get a lot of rest on that ankle, which it looked like he tweaked something. We know Bam's been dealing with a hamstring thing, and he just looked, shot out of a cannon in this last game. So I'm curious to see what that looks like. I'm curious to see what the two vets look like in Kyle Lowry and Kevin Love, because they had fantastic game ones and then just didn't look quite the same in game two. I think one of the things, it's not a worry. It's just something I want to keep an eye on going into this game, because I will say one of the things that I have a lot of confidence in with this Heat team, and asked Kevin Love about this yesterday, was just the variety of ways that they've been able to win games. A lot of this stuff hasn't been, I think the Milwaukee series, they had a couple pretty games. They had obviously epic performances. Then you have the game against New York where, Miami's shooting pretty well, especially in that second half. And then you have this past game, which was just an absolute muck fest, but somehow also was just never in doubt. You look at the standings, you look at the box scores after the game, and it's like your eyes told you it was an ugly game, and you knew that the Knicks were playing bad. But I mentioned this in the recap, how the Heat were almost just, I don't know what the word is. They were almost oblivious to the fact that they weren't shooting that well either, which is why when I look at what's coming up tomorrow, I don't know how the game's going to shake out, but I still feel like that he can play a lot better in this series. Knowing that the Knicks, do like to try and toughen some things up, but I feel like both of these teams, I do expect, I can't imagine the Knicks playing much worse offensively. How could you? But I also think that Miami can play a lot better. I think Jimmy Butler made mention of this after the game, where he's, I didn't feel like I was in that great a rhythm. And I think people who have watched him would say, yeah, he didn't make all of those. He made some big ones. He made some stop the bleedings or stop little mini runs, or anything that where it really felt like New York was going to maybe push their way back in the game, it felt like Jimmy Butler just came up with either a clutch basket or was able to get to the free throw line to get themselves in a spot where like the distance was just always kept at a safe spot for them. So just very, very, very curious to see how that turns out in this game 4 coming up on Monday night. The other thing is, there really hasn't been, one of the things that's been awesome about Miami has been they really, because everything feels so Jimmy, there does feel like, if Max doesn't have a big game, Caleb Martin does. Gabe Vincent, if he doesn't have a big one, which, he just didn't have his shot at all in the last game, feels like you're confident that he's going to come out in a big way. So I think that's one of the things that has been really exciting about this as well. And the thing that is interesting with this Miami team and looking at how far they can go, because I do think that you're looking around and you're looking on the other side of the bracket right now, and, task at hand, but you're looking and be like, man, like if Miami can finish the job, calm down, Ben Stiller. If Miami can finish the job, is this Heat team actually set up to go further? Like, is that really in your mind? Because I got into a big argument with this about Leroy on Thursday or Friday show. I can't remember at this point. Weekend's been a bit of a blur. But the one thing that I think goes in Miami's favor, if you want to do comparison shopping of this year, last year, I think you have to look at their 2 veterans, because a lot of the role guys are the same. Caleb, Gabe, Max Strus, Duncan Robinson when he's in there. And certainly we can't forget our guy Cody Zeller, who just completely rattled the cage of Julius Randle, which is, I was reading some of these quotes by Julius Randle after the game about, I'm not worried about Bam Adebayo's defense on me. It's like, well, you probably should be, dude. Like, the guy actually put you in a lockbox that entire game, but that's neither here nor there. Getting back to the Heat, one of the things that I find interesting about this squad is the presence of Kyle Lowry and Kevin Love. And those 2 guys with their championship experience, their championship moxie, people buy into it. They think that does bring a lot to the table. And look, it's so impressive to see what Kyle has been able to do. Like Kyle Lowry, it really felt like his Heat tenure was very much on the ropes, that they would have, found a taker if he was healthy or if anybody wanted him, and Spell wasn't playing him in fourth quarters. And, there was just a lot of frustration. And, that coming on a year where I think Kyle was hoping things were going to go a lot smoother for him. I remember talking to him at Media Day this year, just the comfort level. This is a guy who worked out very hard. I know people bust on him about the whole Pat Riley thing and his reception. I think it's because, Kyle Lowry is a grown man and doesn't need to be told how to professionally act, I think, in his case. And so he was out in Vegas training very hard for the season, got some workout time with Bam. They got to know each other a little bit better. And, that's coming on the heels of, he didn't really get a chance to do anything in the Heat postseason last year. He was hobbled. Had some, good stuff that he did in Game 6, but, yeah, just not a person that he could count on for production. And you see already in this Knicks series what he's been able to do, and just the burst that he plays with, the confidence that he plays with, setting guys up, how he's able to quarterback that second unit where they're bringing in a lot of different guys. It's just like night and day, dude. And that's the thing that was always missing when it came to, the Heat haven't done anything. They haven't done anything for Jimmy. Well, this guy was the big move. This was the guy that Jimmy wanted to play with. This is Jimmy's guy. And Kyle's really coming through, man. He really is. And it's been very, very impressive to see what he's been able to give this team from, just from all types of standpoints. That mix-up, setting guys up on offense in that quarterbacking fashion, knowing when to blow past guys, frustrating the holy hell out of the New York Knicks. And I just think that stuff is it can be overlooked. And Spell gave a voice to this going into this series. He was asked just about Kevin Love and Kyle Lowry and just having those guys and everything in essence that they bring and why it's so important to Miami.
It is so important. they're pros, and I think it's really a credit to them to embrace everything that we're about, first and foremost. That they just want to fit in, they want to help, they want to make sure that people feel comfortable, and they both have said the same thing, that just lay out a role, don't worry about me, I'll figure it out. I just want to compliment, I just want to help, I want to help this thing work, and ultimately help the team win. And that is unique, a lot of times, for veteran players. But that championship pedigree, you can't emphasize that enough. That their experiences really show out even more so in the playoffs than in the regular season, and on the road. That they're able to stabilize the team, stabilize those skirmishes, and just bring a great deal of confidence and stability to their units, because they've been in these situations time and time again.
And you think about Kevin Love, also not a great start to his Heat tenure, where it's like you brought him in here and, it just didn't feel like the fit was fantastic right away. Bam's numbers weren't where they were. And, you just like, is this the perfect fit? And then he kind of goes to the bench and you seem like you find something, right? But you get absolutely crushed in one of these games. And so they decide to put Kevin Love in the starting lineup. And lo and behold, I mean, this guy, it's like what he and Bam have been able to create back together is probably exactly what they envisioned. Kevin has always been a big fan of playing with Bam Adebayo. I think that everybody thought this was going to be this money perfect fit, but it just was a little bit weirder than I think people expected. And I think part of that had to do with them figuring each other out. You're like, well, why do they got to figure each other? Well, you got two really good rebounders. You have a guy in Bam who sometimes when he gets the ball wants to bring it up the court, have the ball in his hands, start the play. You have a guy in Kevin Love who we saw beautifully in front of Mike McDaniel throw touchdown passes and get the plays going. And so like you kind of have to figure out that dance between each other of where to be. But man, having a guy of Kevin's rebounding caliber it's a nice benefit for Bam, especially you think about these possessions where he's just boxing out the holy hell out of everything the New York Knicks are bringing, where they're trying to crash the glass and get those extra possessions. And that really, aside from Scott Foster, was a big reason why they took that game too. So Kevin's also just been a huge revelation in these playoffs, where I would say like his addition was kind of tepid after we got through the regular season and the play-ins, but in the playoffs, dude's been a monster. And I think it probably goes to the whole moniker of the lead us, Kevin, take us there. And which is a hilarious thing. Like yesterday, Kevin Love's media's going on, and like Jimmy and Bam are the last two guys in the locker room. At least they were at the time when Kevin was speaking. And you just hear as he's talking, you just hear in the background from Bam, lead us, Kevin. And then Jimmy goes, take us there. And asked Kevin about this afterwards, and he said, "This is the brainchild of Max Strus, who I do believe is the first person I've seen him do this on social media."
So many different things on the offensive end as well. He leads us. He takes us there. He's a guy. So tonight it was a beautiful thing to, watch him, slow down Randall, who can be so physical and so devastating, playing downhill, hitting threes, coming out in the first quarter, and I think leading the NBA in first quarter points. So I thought it did a great job tonight, and had a big double-double for us in a game where we needed it.
When was the first time they started chanting that out to you, the lead us, Kevin?
These guys, man. It was Max. He started it. But it's something where different guys again want to have to set the tone, but it starts with those two guys right there, Jimmy and Bam, setting the tone for us. But it was Max being Max being Max. So that's what I'll say. I want to say something else. Thanks.
Which is great. And then they gave Cody Zeller the lead us, Cody, take us there. So it's fun, man. That stuff is fun when things are going good and you're winning. and things seem like they're in a really positive direction. It is fun to see the camaraderie around the team. That 2020 team had so much of it. That was really noticeable. It didn't really, get a true sense of it for the Eastern Conference Finals team last year as much as you did this year. But it really does feel like this team think it's, their confidence has to be sky high with having the Jimmy play the way that he's playing right now. Best player in the playoffs. And I think you just feel the trickle down on everybody. Everybody just feels that confidence. They're all trying to shoot. They're all trying to make their impact. Nobody's backing down from the challenge. And for them, you could just see, I think, everything kind of tightened up, that they may be thinking to each other, man, maybe we could do something special here. We took down this giant in the Milwaukee Bucks. We have them scrambling. We had them fire their coach. We have their star talking about failure's not a thing. And, it's just very interesting. It's very interesting to see what things are going on right now. And by the way, the Heat are going so good right now. I want to give a shout out to my guy, Mike Biamonte. PA announcer of the Miami Heat. Also does a lot of voicing for our radio show. So shout out to Mike. Guy's the best. And John Hollinger. I don't know if you guys know this. OG nerd. This guy is just like the worst. And when I mean the worst, I mean the worst. Because he'll do things like, oh, Rudy Gobert should be up there for MVP. I'm like, huh? What? And it's like, no wonder the Grizzlies didn't keep you around, dude. Makes up stats willy-nilly. One of these stat delinquents who's just out here like, I've made up a stat. It's called PER. I was like, I remember when PER was all the rage, John. Then they got a second spectrum, and we started, cleaning the glass, and nobody cares about your statistics anymore, your hocus-pocus numbers. But this John Hollinger had the audacity to come at Mike Biamonte, the king, and he said, ideal outcome for this series is if the Heat advance, but their PA guy is eliminated, right? And I've heard a lot of these national jokers have some chit chat to say about Mike Biamonte. And I just got to tell you guys, you can all go to hell. Not that Mike Biamonte needs my help, because I'll get to his tweet in a second because it was fantastic. But Mike Biamonte is a gem. The fans love him. We all love doing Dos Minutos. We love the way that he calls the hometown stuff. Jim, me, Butler. Everybody's doing it now. He has the crowd feeding out of the palm of his hands. Mike Biamonte is a gem. And for John Hollinger, rat bastard, to have anything to say about him is atrocious. So Mike B had this to say. Hey, John Hollinger, since I've been in the league for the last 32 seasons, you've been eliminated from plenty of jobs. I've been much better at my job than you have been at any of yours. Loser. Which, delicious. Tweet by Mike Biamonte is good. You should tread lightly, John Hollinger. You stepped into a hornet's nest and you got stung, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Looking forward to Game 4. I'll be boots on the ground for that one. Have the full recap. And let's see if this week can keep getting fun, baby. I think it will be.